Congressional correspondent Bill Melugin is on Capitol Hill. Bill.
Harris, good morning to you. Opening statements in this hearing have been going on for about an hour or so. We just heard that really powerful testimony from Cheryl Minter, who essentially said that the system failed her daughter. And by the system, she means the Fairfax County DA, Steve Descano, who's sitting right in front of her. He used his opening comments to turn around, look at her, and apologize to her. Take a listen.
Ms. Minter, I am deeply sorry for your loss. And I say that not only as a prosecutor, but as a parent of a daughter. I am sorry for what you are having to endure. And I promise that my office is doing everything we can to prosecute the man responsible.
Well, Descano also testified that his policies do not protect or favor criminal illegal aliens. However, Harris, his own website previously seemed to admit that he does favor them. It's now deleted, but for years, his website said in part, quote, "Wherever possible, Steve will make charging and plea decisions that limit or avoid immigration consequences. And if two people commit the same crime, but only one's punishment includes deportation, that's a perversion of justice and not a reflection of the values of Fairfax County." Jim Jordan responded to that.
Defund ICE, but Mr. Descano takes it even a step further. He takes it a step further and says, I'm not even going to prosecute the guys who do terrible things. I'm not going to prosecute them. We're not going to honor detainers. We're going to let them out on the street. And of course, what happens when you do that? Ms. Minter is going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Well, Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal used her opening statement to offer condolences to Cheryl Minter, but mispronounced her name in the process. Then, Harris, she immediately pivoted to asking any Fairfax County residents in the room to stand up if they support immigrants.
I want to start by offering my deepest condolences to you, Mrs. Minter. As a mother myself, I just cannot imagine the pain that you are experiencing in losing your daughter. Would you please stand up if you're from Fairfax County? Wow, a lot of you. And please remain standing if you support immigrants and support policies that make sure that everyone feels safe in calling 911.
So, Harris, now that these opening statements are coming to an end, we expect the grilling phase of this hearing to begin. The round of questioning is about to start. That's when you can expect those House Republicans on that committee to really pin down Steve Descano and the Fairfax County Sheriff Stacey Kincaid on their sanctuary policies. We'll send it back to you.
Well, who's going to pin down Pramila Jayapal? Who's going to pin her down? We know where her heart is. Can you believe she staged that stunt? As that grieving mom is sitting right there. And Descano, yeah, he apologized to the mom, but no change that protects the citizens of Virginia. It's more than mind-boggling. It's on purpose. Bill Melugin, thank you. Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director and former DHS deputy assistant secretary. Good to see you today. Wish it were under different circumstances, but help us make sense of how Virginia is failing at this point, particularly the sanctuary policies of Fairfax County.
Yeah, these sanctuary policies of Fairfax County really amount to cruelty to American citizens and cruelty to the victims, like we just saw with Miss Minter there. It's so horrific. And, you know, Bill Melugin just talked about on Steve Descano's website, he said that he will treat illegal immigrants better than American citizens because he doesn't want them to face the consequences of being deported, even when they commit the most serious crime. And it gets even worse. In 2024, the sheriff of Fairfax County released 725 illegal aliens back into the community rather than turning them over to ICE, albeit that was during the Biden administration, who wouldn't have deported them anyway. But it just shows how cynical and how there's just a lack of regard for the citizens of Fairfax County. And particularly Ms. Minter's case is interesting because her attacker, the person charged with her murder, had approximately 40 charges in Fairfax County. Almost all of them were dismissed. And they were given so many warnings about him.
40. Chairman Jim Jordan was in focus.
It's amazing.
Let's watch what the chairman had to say.
Almost a third of the country live in jurisdictions where you have decisions like Mr. Descano was making, where they won't cooperate with ICE, they won't work with ICE, and they let bad guys who should be held, should be detained, or should be turned over to ICE, they let them out on the street, and bad things happen. That is just stupid. That is just crazy left-wing policy, all done for crazy left-wing reasons.
And as President Trump has tried to do all that he can, you know, cutting off the illegal flow at the border as much as humanly possible at this point, and then you leave it up to these states because they have the right to do what they do, and they choose to do the opposite. And I'm just not convinced that this isn't also a little bit of Trump derangement syndrome that's mixed in here.
Yeah, you get the combination of Trump derangement syndrome as well as the open borders mass amnesty policy, because remember, the Democrats want every illegal alien to stay in the country and also encourage them to keep coming. But what makes this really bad, if you think of these sanctuary cities policies, they lead to death. It's not just a political difference. And you think it's not just isolated to their own counties, because Laken Riley was released in New York City and her killer was, and went down to Georgia and murdered her. So sanctuary cities one place, hurt Americans other places. And we also have Sheridan Gorman recently in Chicago, released from a crime. If she was turned over to ICE, or if the killer was turned over to ICE, she'd be alive today. And Governor J.B. Pritzker, who never misses an opportunity to get near a microphone, took 5 days to put out some generic perfunctory statement about her death. It's so cynical. But again, like you said, is Trump derangement syndrome on steroids, and people are dying. And Jim Jordan's right. 1/3 of the country has to live under these sanctuary policies, but all of us suffer even if we don't live in them.
When you mention the 40 crimes that were just put aside with the man who killed Cheryl Minter's daughter, if somebody did 40 of anything, you would hope the law would come down.
You would absolutely think so. And this Fairfax Police Department was warning Descano's office that this guy is going to continue to stab people, or even worse, as they said in an official email to his office. And not only the 40 arrests, they had 100 contacts with this person, police contacts with him, so they knew how dangerous he was. And who knows if police officers get discouraged from arresting someone knowing that the Commonwealth's attorney will repeatedly drop charges. And it's not just this case. In December of last year, an MS-13 member was released from jail in Fairfax County, not turned over to ICE. He was an illegal alien, and he committed or charged with a murder within 24 hours. It is such a disgrace what's going on out there.
Wow. I mean, those numbers are just mind-boggling, that we as a society will put up with somebody that will do that and still not protect the victims. It's really unreal, very un-American. Jonathan Fahey, thank you for being with me. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.